I'm Adam Todd, and welcome to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. I believe that the best way to engage students in a 21st century classroom is to immerse them with the transformative tools that will empower each and every one of them to excel in the future world that awaits. My focus is to ignite the spark that propels you and your students into an advanced tomorrow, and your journey into that future starts right now. Classroom Dynamics is supported by Logitech. As education continues to evolve, so does Logitech Education, your partner in content creation for the classroom. With Logitech's cutting-edge technology, students not only learn but also become content creators. Whether it's in person or online, Logitech's tools are designed to inspire educators and learners alike. Capture every educational moment in stunning detail and edit, produce, and share your creative journey with ease. Logitech Education, inspiring the next generation of creators. For more, visit logitech.com/education, transforming classrooms one innovation at a time. Calling all educators. Are you ready to inspire creativity and engagement in your students? Unlock their full potential with content creation. Imagine empowering them with cutting-edge tools like the Blue Sona microphone from Logitech, which ensures crystal clear audio quality for impactful projects. Logitech offers a full range of content creation solutions, from audio equipment and cameras to lighting and editing software. Plus, they have a suite of education solutions tailored for classrooms, elevating the learning experience for students and educators alike. Empower the next generation of creators by exploring the possibilities at logitech.com/education today.
For over 20 years, Higher Ground has designed functional technology protection, helping students to work or learn anytime, anywhere. I'm Mark, president of Higher Ground, and I want to share with you how you can get a free sample of any of our rugged shells, sleeves, or clear backpacks. Visit hggear.com/sample and use your school's email and address. One thing, don't tell Alex because he'll be stuck with all the paperwork. Request yours and see for yourself how Higher Ground can help save your students and school downtime and money. Just remember, don't tell Alex.
Mark, what are all these sample requests filling my inbox?
Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, the podcast where we get into the exciting world of technology and education. Hi everybody, I'm your host Adam Todd, and today's episode is packed with groundbreaking insights into the world of teaching and learning in the age of artificial intelligence. Today, we're going to take a journey into the future with AI, where the cultivation of uniquely human skills is paramount for students to thrive as problem solvers. And to do just that, we'll sit down with Dr. Michelle Ament, the Chief Academic Officer for ProSolve, and Jessica Marucci, the Director of Experiential Professional Development at ProSolve, all about the significance of human intelligence, an indispensable asset for career readiness in what possibly one day could become an AI-dominated workforce. We'll also touch upon how ProSolve can bring a renewed passion for teaching and learning, particularly through experiential learning, which is the process of learning through experience, especially with its connection in the age of artificial intelligence. Add that to ProSolve's innovative learning experience framework, and you have a powerhouse program for teachers and students. In addition, we'll also talk about a responsibility that all 21st century teachers should own, which is the need to prepare students with human-centered competencies, turning them into leaders in an AI-driven world. Finally, ProSolve will also showcase their latest innovation, the ARIA LXP Coach, a powerful AI tool designed to guide educators in creating immersive experiences that deepen learning through real-world application. So get ready for an inspiring conversation that promises to reshape your perspectives on the future of education. We'll be right back. Are you a dedicated educator searching for fresh and engaging resources to inspire your students? Look no further than Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers. Discover a treasure trove of easy-to-use lesson plans, vibrant visuals, and interactive activities designed to captivate young minds and ignite their love for learning. Unlock the potential within your classroom with Highly Motivated, from differentiated lap books to test prep passages on a multitude of topics. Our wide range of materials cater to most elementary and middle school grade levels. Join the community of passionate teachers who have already transformed their classrooms. Visit Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers and get ready to inspire, motivate, and empower your students like never before. Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers, where knowledge meets inspiration. Today we have Dr. Michelle Ament, who is a passionate educational leader dedicated to developing and advocating for human-centered learning experiences. Her career spans over 2.5 decades, during which she's been advancing K-12 education with innovative practices to ensure students are prepared with the vital skills necessary to flourish in their careers and beyond. Also with us today, we have Jessica Marucci, the Director of Experiential Professional Development. Jessica appeared on Classroom Dynamics at the NICE Conference in Rochester, New York in November of 2023 and is committed to providing authentic and meaningful learning opportunities for students and adults. As the Director of Experiential PD at ProSolve, she's also dedicated to empowering and supporting educators in providing engaging learning experiences that target and cultivate human intelligence. I'd like to welcome both of you to Classroom Dynamics. It's awesome to have you both here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
It's great to be here. Thanks.
Dr. Ament, let's start with you first. Before we get into all the intricacies of ProSolve, tell everyone a little bit about what ProSolve is and what it can do for both teachers and students.
Great question, Adam. So ProSolve is dedicated to creating career-ready problem solvers for the world of AI. And here at ProSolve, we are hyper-focused on increasing student engagement. We really believe that the classroom and our out-of-school time programming can really increase engagement by having relevant and meaningful experiences for kids. And we do that by creating immersive experiences that allow kids to actively solve problems. And our experiences are highly engaging. They're very relevant to kids, and they allow them to build those social emotional skills and collaborative problem solving skills. And so ProSolve is focused on learning by doing, and we do this by playing, connecting, creating, and leading and exploring.
It's awesome because if you really think about 21st century classrooms, everything you just mentioned, that incorporates it right back into the classroom for those kids to then eventually one day be able to expand outside of the classroom walls.
Absolutely. That's, when we think about the future workforce, we really are thinking about building human intelligence, or those human-centered, those soft skills that kids need to be successful in today's world, but most importantly, in it for career readiness in the age of AI.
Yeah, that's the bottom line, right? The age of AI.
And it's an important topic right now. I think that educators are thinking about it, administrators are thinking about it, and certainly parents and industry leaders are thinking about it. And so at ProSolve, we're really focused on not necessarily focused on building the competencies and skills around using AI, but building those human intelligence, those human-centered skills that will help all students be successful in their future AI world.
I'm glad you actually said that, because that, I think, is one of the biggest misconceptions, because it is so new. I mean, relatively new. AI has been around, but in terms of where it's going now and how the advancements that multiple layered advancements that all of a sudden it started to have. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's true. It's not really so much, using it per se or the how to use it, but just that overall, full package, so that when a kid does get into the workforce, that they're able to use it when they can, and when they don't need it, they don't have to have it. And, I think it all comes together that way.
Right. And I think that, don't get me wrong, it's important that we all learn how to use AI, and we all have digital literacy around the use of AI. I think that is so important, and our teachers are really starting to think about what do those skills look like. And here at ProSolve, we really think about human intelligence as being focused on a couple of key areas. First, it's really around critical thinking and problem solving, and really being able to be curious and have that element of discovery and apply that critical thinking and problem solving in an analytical way that is innovative and then leverages AI. So when you think about digital literacy, really being able to think critically about what AI is generating, and we call that find, filter, and apply. So you're finding information, you're filtering it for bias or those hallucinations, and then we're thinking about how do we apply this and how does this make sense to me today and for information that I'm using in the future. And this work is crucial, this critical thinking and problem solving. The next thing we think about when we think about human intelligence is we think about collaboration and communication. And so that really is those effective teamwork skills, those interpersonal skills, how we build relationships, how we bring empathy to conversations, how we seek to understand different perspectives. All of that is really wrapped up in how we communicate and we collaborate with one another. And you are probably seeing hearing the 4 C's in this. We really think about critical thinking, collaborative problem solving, creative problem solving, collaboration, and communication. But I think, which has been around for many years, I'm sure, Adam, you've worked to think about how do you bring those 4 C's into your classroom.
Right.
I think the thing here at ProSolve is we really think about it as even a deeper level than we ever have before. And it's really about the application of those 4 C's in real world context and real world problem solving. The other human intelligence skills that we talk a lot about is adaptability and continuous learning. So every time I turn around, AI continues to surprise me and change. And it seems like almost like every week there's a new layer or something to think about. And that rapid growth is going to always continue as in our AI world. And so having learners that are adaptable to that, able to really continue to keep up with that pace in their own continuous learning and be able to use that new information in new ways on an ongoing basis. And I think the last area of human intelligence that is really important and in many ways something that I find most valuable, and that is really generating student agency, really being able to foster that growth mindset, resilience, the feeling of efficacy. And I think that really encompasses all of these things. In order to have human intelligence, you need to really feel like you have agency over being a good communicator, being able to think critically, being able to work with a team, being able to be a self-learner and adapt to problems and solve problems. So that was a long answer kind of about what at ProSolve, what is human intelligence to us? And as we approach the AI world, what we're really focused on is helping teachers think about how do they create opportunities for students to build these crucial skills.
So let me pose this to either one of you or both of you if you want to chime in together. How do you then see this coming together for a futuristic world, especially because you also, just the fact that you mentioned artificial intelligence, that's going to be that X factor in those students' lives down the line in the future, even though it's starting to infiltrate them a little bit more and they're seeing it more and they're probably using it more. How do you see that for, say, an elementary school kid who in 10 years will be going to college in that futuristic world?
Yeah, I think a lot about our day-to-day worlds, like myself in my day-to-day work. I am leveraging AI constantly to kind of be a thought partner, be a coach alongside. I will float an idea to an AI tool and get some brainstorming, some feedback. So that's how I'm using it, as an idea generator, a feedback loop for me, helping to increase my efficiency. I think about reducing the amount of administrative or bureaucracy type tasks so that it frees me up to spend more time in conversation and collaboration and relationship building. And I think about in my given day, I spend far more time being in places where we're wrestling with ideas and we're trying to problem solve and we're thinking innovative and we're reflecting on how something went and looking for improvement. And so I think future-wise, that agile workplace is going to continue to grow and grow, and that will be the norm, where those jobs that require just kind of maybe less of that sort of human intelligence, those jobs that are more task-oriented will get replaced by AI more and more. And so I think it will allow people that are that serve in those jobs currently to be in places where they can be better problem solvers, be more innovative, So I don't like to say AI is going to replace people. I think it will free us up to do more higher order thinking tasks and more deeper collaboration. And in many ways, I'm an optimist. So I think the world will be better for that because we'll have more people doing that type of thinking and trying to create better solutions for whatever industry or whatever world we're in. Jess, what do you think?
I'm thinking a lot about, we are thinking about an elementary classroom and what the students' experience is, but that starts like higher up with us as educators, right? So just as Michelle, you're talking about how you're leveraging AI tools to do your day-to-day work. This then is going to be something that educators and leaders in education need to become comfortable with, if that is what is really the future types of career and day-to-day work that our students are going to be in. And so kind of coming to that, I think, level of comfort and confidence for educators to understand where AI will fit into their future, into their students' future. And I embrace your positive and optimistic outlook on it, Michelle, because I think if we look at AI in a pessimistic way, it could be really easy to get intimidated by it and resistant to it. But as educators, we know that we are some of the number one people that need to be flexible with the changes in the world because we're preparing kids for an ever-changing world. And so I just really think that there's a lot of pieces that we talk about with skill building we want to see in our students. We want to equally be able to give our educators the opportunities to focus on those skills in themselves, so they can become better at fostering and developing those skills with kids too. Because we're all facing this shift into an AI world together, from teacher to student.
Right. And you mentioned before feedback, right? Feedback for someone who's using it, I think is a great point. Even I'll use feedback, use it for feedback in that manner, where if I'm looking for questions to ask the kids that are higher order, I might ask an AI platform to generate 5 higher order thinking questions based on something to see if it matches things that I was already thinking of. And inevitably you get 1 or 2 that, oh, wow, I didn't think about that. That's a good question to ask the kids. That's really going to push them. I didn't think of that. I didn't go down that road, but it came up with it. So to have that feedback, that almost like ping pong back and forth, where you could actually take something that you might not have been really too in tune to and use it to your advantage to then, get the kids to really think a little bit deeper, I think is really important.
Yeah. And think like in that one little example, Adam, I feel like you're leveraging so much of your human intelligence. You have this relational understanding of the different levels of the kids in your room that is prompting you to want to ask AI a specific question. And then going back to Michelle talking about how you're finding, filtering, and then applying what that AI gives back to you to put to your students. It is, I think, what we're going to see, what we are already seeing with AI tools, is it's that constant partnership and leveraging of human intelligence and artificial intelligence. And our students, that's going to be a part of their lives, in their careers and their personal lives going forward. And so we are really trying to bring that into classrooms at ProSolve.
Yeah, I think the trick is teaching them how to do that so that it does allow for that multi-level, multi-layered, higher order thinking intelligence model to come through. So another interesting feature that ProSolve uses is the learning experience model. So it's kind of very similar to what we're starting to talk about already. So it's a great segue. Yeah. What are the key principles of the model, and what does it look like in a classroom setting?
Sure. I'll answer this one. So the learning experience model, first of all, we're going to be talking about this and people are just listening to it, but I'm going to talk about it in like these 4 different components, but I want to really emphasize that learning experience is designed to be cyclical, not sequential, in the way that we're about to kind of discuss it right now. But one of those components, which I think is the foundation of learning experience, and one that ProSolve really exemplifies in all of our solutions, is an immersive experience. So immersing students students into real world or simulated scenarios where they're not only kind of engaging multiple senses in the learning process, but they are then put in a place where they have to become an active participant in their learning instead of a passive one, is just really a powerful, not only a powerful piece for engagement in learning, but when we are trying to focus on and develop these human intelligence skills that we've been talking about, immersive experiences really lays that foundation. So what that looks like when you think about techniques that educators may be using, it's purposeful play. We want to make learning fun, and these experiences can be really with the right mindset and planning. The playfulness can really empower stronger learning outcomes. But
And there's a lot to say
yeah,
about play. There's a lot to say, especially even when you bring it down to a pre-K class. There's a lot to say about and what they're learning and what's actually happening, connection wise and intelligence wise and communication wise. There's a lot there.
Yeah, I would agree, Adam. I think we have just systemically across our schools have kind of stripped kids of those opportunities to play, whether it is at those early learners all the way up though into our middle school and high school kids. Like think about times when kids you're around, just giving them that space to be in those experiences where they can play with one another, they can engage in something that's fun, something that is relevant to them. We see a higher engagement come as a result of that. So that active playfulness translating into intentional learning is, when we think about immersive experiences, is really what that's all about.
And so I teach media arts technology, and just recently, because we're getting to that point in the year where we've learned either, whatever classes, whatever grades I've done different programs with, they've learned several along the way this year so far. And now we're getting into the portion of the year where I could, give them a project to work on or give them a task to do and let them pick what program they want to use. Let them choose if they want to work by themselves or do it together with a group or partner. And you have to see the look on their face when I say, this is your choice. You get to pick, you decide. And using all those words, they almost, in some cases, don't know what to do, or they're confused as to why I'm allowing that to happen. And that's my version of play. But going, even further, you can take that version of play into math, into reading, into science, and their, experimentation. There's so many different ways you could bring play in, but I think you're right. I don't know if we've stepped away from it so much in the last maybe 10 years or so that I think when you actually give them that opportunity, there almost is this like roadblock and they don't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think, that speaks to the importance of when designing when designing a learning experience, and then especially using our learning experience model, is these are aspects that in many traditional classrooms are missing, or they're missing from teachers who want this kind of thing in their practice, because maybe they, don't have the time to plan an immersive experience, or they feel that they don't have the tools to plan an immersive experience. We have some that we can share about on this podcast, but anything from adding some role playing to some gamification to really contextualize learning for kids is going to increase engagement, but it's also going to increase that curiosity, which can then drive what I would say the next aspect of our learning experience model, and one that I feel like speaks to what you were just talking about, Adam, is inquiry through exploration.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, we are putting those students in the driver's seat. We've had this great immersive experience that now has piqued their curiosity. They now naturally are going to start having wonderings, and we giving them the power to craft those questions. What are you wondering? And now giving them the agency to find their own solutions and solve those problems, teaching them those skills like find, filter, and apply as they do so, but having them in the driver's seat is, your students make that face to you because that shows that that's not an opportunity they're receiving in their everyday classroom, which I think is just a good eye opener for us as educators reflect on our own practice and think, am I giving students those opportunities enough? And if not, where can I incorporate more for that?
That's a great point. There's your difference between a traditional classroom and the experience model that you're talking about.
Right.
And I just would add that all of that is what's building agency. So your students are kind of feeling maybe a little lacking that efficacy to feel like I'm given permission and I can do this, where it starts to shift that to them feeling like I got this. This is my project. I have ownership of this learning. They become highly invested in that.
And how often does that then translate into a much better end product anyway?
Absolutely.
Right?
When we think about accountability measures and standardized assessments, and how the learning that they are invested in will translate onto those high staked assessments that that our states have. And we can't necessarily get away from that right now, but what we can do is change the experience, still meet those assessments, and at the same time offer something much more exciting for kids than a traditional sit and get type of experience.
Speaking of exciting, teachers absolutely love to hear when they find out there's a tool that's going to help their job become a little bit easier. So let's talk about ProSolve's new AI tool, since this is obviously where this is going for sure anyway, the LXP Coach. What is it? What can it do for teachers? What is the outcome that you guys provide for teachers?
That I'm so excited to tell you about ARIA, our LXP Coach. So here's a little bit about this tool. It is highly trained on this learning experience model that Jessica just told you about. So we built a tool that pulls in generative AI and is trained on all of the smarts about learning experience. And so it acts as a conversational coach or mentor. So it's very different than ChatGPT or other tools that you've used, that you have to really prompt really well. You have to craft the right prompt. You have to give it enough background. And sometimes what I've found is I'll get an answer and it's kind of right, but I got to prompt it again to get it more closer to what I'm looking for. And I got to prompt it again and get it closer. And so with ARIA, it is much more approachable for teachers because you can just ask a very open-ended question. Like, I'm looking for some information about how to make my lesson on rocks and minerals more engaging. And it will now provide you some ideas on how to make it more engaging based on the learning experience model. So it really is designed to support teachers in that it's easy for them to use, it's approachable, you don't have to know anything about prompting, and it really supports the creativity and innovation of teachers because it is going to start to bring forward some ideas that, what we like to say at ProSolve, really brings back the art of teaching. I think some of that has gotten lost. And so it brings back that creativity and that innovation that really, as teachers, why I went into teaching was to do that creative design of learning for students. So can I give you an example, Adam?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I know that in across the United States and specifically in New York, you're really focused on the new computer science and digital fluency standards.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's kind of a hot topic, right? So I put this into RA. I said, I need help writing a lesson for my 5th grade class on cybersecurity, specifically to model and explain the purpose of simple cryptographic methods. Now that is standard speak. I took that right from the standard. And Aria came back and she said, let's write an immersive experience where there are top secret agents who have an important mission to crack a code to open a manual. I said, great, that sounds fun. Write me a storyline, something that will draw kids in. So she came back and gave me a narrative. Attention agents, welcome to the ProSolve's Cybersecurity Agency. We're faced with a situation of utmost importance. A notorious group known as the Shadow Network has threatened the security of communications. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to protect sensitive information from falling into the wrong hands.
I should have had the Mission Impossible theme going in the background as you said
that.
That might be added in later, but we might actually have that. There you go.
So you can see that kids are drawn into that. They're like, okay,
Right.
what's going to happen? I'm on a mission. This isn't about teaching cybersecurity and cryptographic methods at this point. This is about solving a mission. And so then I asked her, well, of course we want it to have play, but it's got to be purposeful play. So I said, Aria, design a performance task and a rubric. And this is what would blow your mind, Adam. She gave me a performance task and a 4-point rubric with all of the things to assess, the 4-point criteria, and brought that forward that through this performance task, students will understand simple methods by creating their own Caesar cipher to encrypt and decrypt messages. And so she gave me all of the tools. And I think the last thing that I prompted her that is really important in the learning experience model is what is the real world connection? Often
Right.
I think
That's it. That's you just hit it. I was just going to ask you that. Yep.
yeah. So we often do things for the sake of doing them. And what's missing for kids is why does it matter? How will it help me in the real world? So I said, give me some questions and some prompts to help generate conversation to promote real world reflection and application. And she gave me some questions, just like you brought up earlier, that I could ask kids. One is, in what ways do you think understanding cryptography can help protect your personal information when you're online? Give an example of a situation when encrypting information might be important in your daily life. So those are things as a teacher I could come up with. All of this I could come up with, but it would take a lot of time. And I am telling you, I put this in, she generated it within minutes. I had something to work with. So it was really easy for me to generate, and it gave me something right at my fingertips. The other thing with Aria is that, again, we have created this tool to be a coach or a mentor. And so she always ends every prompt with a tip to bring the learning experience model forward and a coaching question, something that she's asking me, do you want more information on how to do something? Is this enough for you? And so I
It's
think
kind of like having that coach sitting right next to you, then,
it
kind of like
absolutely is.
nudging
That
you
was
along. Yeah.
that was absolutely the vision. I think we in schools, teachers appreciate having instructional coaches. There's often, one instructional coach to 50, 100 teachers. You might get to talk to that instructional coach once a month. Now you have an instructional coach every day that you can have a conversation with, get ideas, and get feedback on. So now what I would want to do is do this with my fifth graders, tell Aria how it went, and just have that feedback, that reflection conversation with her. So the learning experience model is great at generating those immersive experiences, helping promote that inquiry with exploration, figuring out what's authentic, how can kids apply it in an authentic way, and then how do we help them reflect on it so it transfers across other disciplines and into their daily lives.
You made a really great point a few minutes ago about, I could have done this, right? I could, as a teacher, as a professional, knowing my kids, knowing where they stand in terms of assessment and understanding where they need to go, I could do this, right? I could put a lesson together. I can come up with the questions myself. But you made a really great point, because the time it would take for someone to do that is so precious that's what I think turns teachers off to doing that, because, well, I have to grade, I have to write lesson plans up, I have to put together, I have to go to the store and grab some materials if I need it for a science experiment or whatever it is. There's a lot going on. This kid is bothering this one. I have to email this parent, or I have to have a conversation, or I have report cards to do. You name it, it's always being thrown at teachers almost at this nonstop rate. But to actually have that coach sitting virtually next to you doing that and helping you out and getting you to get to that point where you could do some of the cool stuff, I think it's a big point.
I'm glad you saw that, and that ability to kind of go back to what we said, create efficiencies, create places where you can get things really quickly and easily at your fingertips. And you mentioned asking AI about higher order thinking questions. I can't wait to give you access to Aria and try that and see if you get an even better question, because I am convinced that the responses from Aria are just at a deeper level, both instructional and with pedagogy, that I think is really going to resonate with you. So I'm excited to have you give it a try and let us know what you think.
Well, I have my headset on, but my ears definitely perked up when you said that. Yes, that's awesome. I'll definitely jump into that for sure. Because look, I'm trying to embrace myself. I think you probably do have a good percentage of teachers who are dabbling in it a little bit or trying to figure it out and understand it. And then, of course, you probably have the teachers who are scared of it and probably, wouldn't touch it with a 50-foot pole, because I just think they don't understand how much help it really could be.
Mm-hmm.
And really for people who are hesitant, or, I guess there's so many reasons why someone may be hesitant to it. But what I love about, one, the learning experience model, but also the type of responses you get from Aria, is that it can be so incorporated into each educator's personal style, into the routines and protocols that you may have already set up in your classroom. Or if you're someone who doesn't have routines and protocols and you need help with that, you can use Aria to support you and coach you on adding those things in. It really can meet educators where they're at just as much as it can help you design learning to meet students where they are at.
Right.
And so it really I think Michelle said it great. What I would say is a much more approachable AI tool than some of the other ones I've used so far.
So this would be really specifically for teachers to use, right? Not for the kids, or do you foresee that happening down the line yourself?
This tool is for teachers. It's an instructional coach for teachers. And I don't know what the future holds with AI for students, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're early in that discovery of what kind of access different what the access looks like for them. I think there's a lot of things to consider about data privacy and about information coming back through AI tools. And so I think we're exploring that, kind of discovering what an enterprise solution could look like for ProSolve in the future. But at this point, we have Aria as in a alpha launch. So she's brand new. We just launched her a couple of weeks ago, and we are learning alongside of Aria, embracing that learning by doing model as we have educators like yourself use Aria. What are the responses look like? How do we need to refine the training so that you're really getting precise responses that really fit what you're asking? So it's a continual learning process, but it is something that we are offering to educators as they are participating in our professional development series. Aria becomes part of a professional development event. And the reason that we have it not for sale as something that you could go purchase is we really believe the power in helping people understand the learning experience model first, and then Aria becomes a tool for that model. And so having that professional development to understand what is ProSolve talking about when we talk about moving from a traditional classroom to a more student-centered, innovative space that builds human intelligence. It's through learning experience, and then the tool supports that. And I think that's really important, Adam, to point out, because right now I'm seeing in the industry a lot of just AI tools popping up, and they are trying to just kind of solve any problem that's out there in the market. And I'm also a little bit concerned with some of these AI tools that are replacing what I would call as poor pedagogy, poor practice. So how you can generate a worksheet really quickly and really easily, or how to write a multiple choice test in less than 5 minutes. Like, those are the practices we want to see diminished. And so it concerns me about AI being out in front, helping teachers be efficient with poor practices, poor pedagogy that doesn't increase engagement, that doesn't deepen learning. And so we want to start with a model that does what we want it to do, which is increase student learning, build those human intelligence, increase engagement, build that agency, and then follow with a tool to help you do that.
Yeah.
So before we end today, let's just get back to the basics just for a second, so teachers understand where this is coming from. First of all, how would they get started with ProSolve?
I think there's several different avenues someone could take to get started with ProSolve. One, just to piggyback off Michelle, she just mentioned our professional development. And so attending one of our professional development workshops, look for us at an upcoming regional conference that you may be going to, just to get a little more introduced to learning experience, what ProSolve is all about in person would be a great step, looking into the spring season of professional development to wrap up the school year. But also, one way that I think is one of the best ways to get started with ProSolve, it's actually one of the ways I got started with ProSolve as a classroom teacher, is through our Quest program. So check out our Quest program. It's a K-8 student program, actually TK-8 student program. And what this is it is, I think I talked to you actually a little bit about it at Nice Gate, because you
We
saw
did.
some of our fun art and quest challenges there. But this is an immersive program that launches your students into a simulated problem solving experience. And what I found as an educator, and I'm not trying to toot my horn, but I felt that I had a lot of strengths in designing experiential learning in my classroom. And I felt that I was good at creating lessons that targeted collaboration and problem solving. So when I did Quest in my classroom, and I really saw a brand new perspective of what it looked like for my students, when their collaboration and their critical thinking and the problem solving they had to do through Quest was eliciting different behaviors and skill building than what I was seeing from my social studies lessons, for example. So as an educator, it got me not only seeing and being able to support this amazing growth and development of skills for my students with a product that I don't have to design, it's already designed for me, but I was learning as an educator, okay, looking at these components here, how can I replicate these in my own unit and lesson design that I'm doing? And so that, I think, is just one of the best ways to get started with ProSolve for that reason. It's a program that's already designed for you to implement that you can in turn learn from as an educator to be able to start building more of those types of opportunities and experiences in your everyday lessons.
And what a great time of year to start even dabbling in it a little bit, right? Because you're coming out,
Sure.
a lot of schools are past that midpoint. You
Mhm.
can kind of start to kind of, test it out, just see what it does, experiment a little bit with it, but then really over the summer get into it. And so that next year when you're starting, now you're ahead of the curve a little bit, and you're starting brand new with a new class, but you have a load of experience behind you that you can pull from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt. And I think when it comes to any, when we reflect on our practice as educators, and when we think about, some people might think about learning experienced, or how do we change our practice in the age of artificial intelligence, it can sound like this huge shift. And I know that educators can become intimidated by it, but it all begins with one step. And I love how you just kind of laid out a timeline that educators are thinking about the rest of the school year, by summer, the start of next school year. We're always thinking in the
Always thinking ahead.
school calendar. And it starts with that one step, and utilizing and leveraging the tools out there like what ProSolve has to offer to help you take that first step, and to make each of those following steps easier and planned out for you, so that it's not just that shifting your pedagogy or extending your pedagogy isn't something that you just talk about. It's something that you actually take a step to start doing.
Well, listen, this has been really informative, super interesting. It's such a hot topic that I think everyone wants to just soak up and learn more about, or learn as much as they can. So I'm really glad that we had the chance to learn more about ProSolve and how close the future really is, right? It's closer than everyone thinks it is. Before we go, just tell everyone where they can go to find out more about ProSolve.
Really easy. You can just head to our website at prosolve.com, and it's ProSolve, ProSolve.com.
Awesome. Well, for those of you who have been listening, thank you for tuning in today, and make sure you share what you learned or any takeaways or reflections that you've had, and tag us on Twitter at Class Dynamics or Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. We always look forward to hearing your thoughts on our episodes and sharing the different ways in which you're using what you've learned. You can also help support Classroom Dynamics with as little as $3 a month at classroomdynamicspodcast.buzzsprout.com. Once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Ament, the Chief Academic Officer for ProSolve, and Jessica Marucci, the Director of Experiential Professional Development at ProSolve, for joining us today on Classroom Dynamics. This has been so much fun, so informative, and it's been a pleasure to have you on with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Adam.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of Classroom Dynamics, where knowledge and inspiration meets innovation. I hope you've enjoyed today's discussion and found it both insightful and uplifting. As always, my goal is to provide you with practical strategies, engaging stories, and powerful insights that can fuel your motivation as an educator. I believe that when knowledge and inspiration do come together, incredible things can happen in your classroom. And for all of you who may feel that it's too late to strengthen your craft, I challenge you to make it your mission to do so. You've worked hard to get to where you are today, and it's never too late to infuse new life into your work. So why not make today that day to do so? I'm Adam Todd, and you've been listening to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. You can follow Classroom Dynamics on X at Class Dynamics or on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. If you haven't already, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And if you know a teacher who may benefit from today's show, please share it with them. We'll be back soon with more captivating conversations, inspiring stories, and strategies that you can implement into your everyday routines. Until then, keep igniting that spark in your classroom and never stop believing in the incredible impact you have as an educator. You're more powerful and inspirational than you think. If you loved this episode, you'll enjoy my conversation with Sue Thoughts of Common Sense Education. In this special episode celebrating Computer Science Week, we explore the dynamic landscape of digital literacy within the context of Computer Science Week. Sue shares her insights on cultivating a strong foundation in computer science education, offering practical advice for parents, educators, and students eager to navigate an ever-changing digital world. From decoding online content to fostering a love for coding, join us for a captivating conversation with Sue Thoughts, where we bridge the gap between digital literacy and the exciting opportunities that Computer Science Week brings to the forefront.
Yeah, so computer science, obviously it's not the first thing you think of when it comes to digital citizenship, but with a lot of the standards related to computer science, such as around the impacts of computing, and having students understand a lot of those social emotional skills when it comes to being creators. So our students, when we are giving them these computer science skills, they need to not only understand the ways in which they can be coding, right? It's not just the practice of making stuff, but it's about the impacts of what those types of creations are going to have on the real world.